Agent Carter. When someone said she had her own show, I couldn't be any less interested, because I'm usually not too hot with period dramas, apart from Downton Abbey here or there. So despite Hayley Atwell being one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, I was pretty indifferent with her show. But then, out of general curiosity, I watched it. And holy! Agent Carter is a tightly plotted, emotionally complex, witty, and violent show that is so awesome that it's completely criminally underrated. So join me as I explore her trauma. The pilot opens with Steve's final moments before Peggy's kettle is done. But the present is not so bright. Howard is under questioning for selling his weapons to the enemy. So, like father, like son.
He's been waffling on the hill, treating the whole thing like a joke.
Furthermore, Peggy's life is one of unstimulating mediocrity, as she's denied being sent on the field and deals with workplace sexism. However, in an alleyway, a shady man and a car is there to pick her up. But then after they all get beaten up, it's actually Howard and Jarvis there together to become a double agent, to find out who's stealing his weapons. This is the premise of the drama, the tension between the one-woman operation against a bunch of dudes on the move. It sounds very, very TV showy, but it fucking works because it's never dragged out, and what surprised me the most was how cutthroat it is. Like after Peggy's first outing, her lovely roommate who has a cold and is just this really, really lovely person.
Oh, Peg, I'm really proud of you.
Gets shot in the fucking head, and Peggy throws the killer out the window. As a result, this is the other half of the show. Peggy is a cold-blooded experienced killer that's extremely desensitized to violence, but also extremely worn out by it, from losing Steve, the regular deaths around her, and the unsatisfying life she's living, despite her great record from the war. So she doesn't know if it's all worth it anymore. And in the big picture storytelling, this is all about Peggy learning to live again. Peggy has a paradox of wanting to protect the world, but also removing herself from it, as she pushes her friend Angie and Jarvis away. Jarvis himself very much represents the opposite of Peggy. Unlike her, his military service is over because his general refused to sign a piece of paper for the escape of a Jewish girl, so he forged it, and before he was punished, Howard stepped in because they both got along very, very well. He's a dude whose life is no longer defined by his service, but the life he lives as a husband.
Your wife will be very proud.
She must never, ever know.
And as Howard's friend. Both things that Peggy is reluctant to appreciate, so Peggy's trauma with losing Steve has made her frozen in time, ironically. But it's not the pain of the past that hurts her, but the feeling that she's incapable of living forward, to imagine a future that isn't just her service, because any part of her private life feels incomplete and futureless now that he's gone. Therefore, the big twist forces her to confront her wound, which is that when Howard gets Peggy to steal a confiscated EMP device from the SSR labs, it's revealed to actually be Steve's blood, and it breaks her heart. In a moment of vulnerability, Howard admits he grew up poor and has developed a tendency to lie, but truthfully, he explains he wants the blood to make better medicine, while Peggy accuses him of just wanting to make profit and using her as a corporate spy, before angrily leaving.
Steve Rogers dedicated his mind, his body, his life to the SSR and to this country, not to your bank account. I made the same pledge, but I'm not as good as Steve was. I forgot my pledge running around for you like a corporate spy. So thank you, Howard, for reminding me who Steve was and what I aspire to be.
She can't let go of the past, because Peggy worships Steve too much to have any active interest in building a new life. But this is where the awesome supporting cast comes in. There are three key dudes in the SSR office. Thompson, the interrogator / second in command, who is effective but also kinda douchey.
Come on, Chief, you're not actually thinking about letting Carter go to work.
Son.
Daniels, a sweet supportive dude, but is on Peggy's tail.
Whoa, no! Laura.
And Chief Dooley, who's sexist but also has a fair heart capable of change.
The war's over. Let the professionals decide who's worth going after.
Good work, Carter.
Thanks, sir.
Everyone has varying levels of sexism, which allows Peggy to game the system, but also her commitment to stick around and prove her worth is what allows her to implicitly both open up and rebuild herself.
I can trust the actions of men who don't respect me more than those who do. At least when they ask for something, they mean it.
It's a really clever bit of narrative arrangement, where the arc of her character exists directly in parallel with the arc of the world she's in. So there's never any exposition needed to track where she or anyone is in their stage of transformation. The best episode that exemplifies this is episode 5. After Carter uses her code-breaking skills to get coordinates in Russia, she tries to wrangle her way to be sent with Thompson's team, but gets brutally rejected by him, so she brute forces her way past him. They rendezvous with the Howling Commandos, who show Peggy more respect than the SSR do, baffling them. In a pub, Dooley and Lionel Luthor talk about a story which showed Howard being a traitor doesn't actually add up. So Dooley goes to tell Jarvis he's no longer interested in a witch hunt, just the truth, while the gang discovers and rescues a scientist dude. But during the ensuing fight, Thompson freezes, requiring Peggy to lead. His backstory is then revealed. Thompson feels deep shame for shooting some Japanese soldiers coming out to surrender, and he buried the white flag. His guilt gets bigger every day, especially now that he was awarded for it and is considered a war hero, but he finally discloses it to Peggy. So afterwards, Thompson in a meeting fully gives her full credit and invites her to drink with the lads. So here I am, ready to fucking hate everyone and only care about the popular branded characters, but damn it, Thompson made me love him, and I love Daniel, and I love Dooley. What? It's just, the writing is so good. The show is completely willing to be patient and allow you to properly hate everyone early on, but that only makes winning you over all the more satisfying. Anyways, the scientist dude isn't actually a good-hearted nice man, he's a secret asshole who has the ability to hypnotize people, including Dooley, whose personal life is kind of crap. His wife cheated on him with a plumber from Hoboken. So he's to a large extent what Peggy could be if she kept estranging herself further from substituting her personal life with her job, because she'll alienate everyone around her, those that she's supposed to love. But then Daniel reveals Peggy's secret, and the SSR, led by Thompson, goes to arrest Peggy, who beats everyone up and races to get Steve's blood at her place. Angie uses her acting skills to cry and distract everyone, but then Peggy's neighbor, Dottie, who's someone involved in an early version of the Black Widow program, which includes featuring a scene where we see child murder, what the fuck, knocks Peggy out, and before she kills her, Daniel and Thompson shows up. Peggy is taken away and is now finally under interrogation. Throughout the show, there's a central theme of acting and interrogation. There's like 4 full-on interrogation scenes, and Peggy is always acting, as when she reveals to everyone that she's been using the narrative of sexism around her, it's a real sobering moment.
But I've never been more than what each of you has created. To you, I'm a stray kitten left on your doorstep to be protected. The secretary turned damsel in distress. The girl on the pedestal transformed into some daft whore. You're behaving like children.
What's worse, what's far worse, is that this is just shoddy police work.
And at the end, when the bad guy uses Howard's inventions, which makes everyone kill each other, it's also used in the theater. Peggy is someone who hides her pain, her trauma, by creating a mask with her work. But in doing so, that other identity is not technically insincere. It's another life separate from Steve. Another life that has allowed her to assimilate the painful shadow his supposed death has rested over her.
Agent Carter.
It's Miss Carter. I don't work here anymore. But if you want a confession, if you want the truth, I am ready to give it to you.
A new life that's given her a completely new sense of self-definition. As a result, to get everyone to finally trust her and go after evil Dr. Man and Dottie as they communicate with Morse code, Peggy has to tell the truth.
Why would you go through all that trouble instead of coming to one of us?
I conducted my own investigation because no one listens to me. Because unless I have your reports, your coffee, or your lunch, I'm invisible.
That is the last remaining sample of Captain Steve Rogers' blood. I suppose I just wanted a second chance at keeping him safe.
And to finally win everyone over, she reveals Steve's blood. She's finally willing to let him go. In an elevator over to Dottie, Thompson and Daniel both agree they believe in Peggy, before they're about to shit themselves. Chief brings Jarvis and Peggy into an interrogation room to lock them in. Clearly, he was hypnotized to kill them, but he had enough strength to defy it. In the end, Chief comes home, kisses his wife, forgiving her, and is there for his son finally. But it's actually a dream, hypnotized within him. He's wearing Stark's experimental heat vest, which will explode.
Promise me you'll get the son of a bitch who did this.
We'll catch them.
This is a moment where everyone finally works together and Peggy shows her worth by, oh my god, he dies! Howard Stark then arrives in the SSR office and reveals that the killer gas was supposed to help soldiers keep awake. But the symptoms are very similar to sleep deprivation, which makes everyone into a psycho. So there's a hilarious bit where Thompson does a speech and Howard feeds him his lines.
Humbled by his genius, though.
of brilliance, humbled by his brilliance.
But the bad guys didn't take the bait, because they weren't interested in killing Howard, but kidnapping him first. The people after Howard are the Russian survivors of his gas weapon from back in the day. The Doctor uses Howard's biggest moment of shame to use him, and that was when Howard couldn't find Steve. So he's tricked into a suicide crash into New York with poisonous gas. As everyone beats everyone up, Peggy has to speak to Howard, much like the first Avengers ending. She can either get Jarvis to shoot Howard, but in tears, she instead gets Howard to move on from Steve's death. He was the one good thing he brought to the world.
All I've done my whole life is create destruction. Project Rebirth he was the one thing I've done that brought good into this world.
Howard, you are the one person on this earth who believes in me. I cannot lose you. Steve is gone. We have to move on, all of us. As impossible as that may sound.
It's a great tearful moment that shakes him out of it, so he's back to reality. Earlier on in the climax, evil Dr. Man tells Daniel to focus on the pain, and that's been Peggy's arc, to finally confront Steve's death, accept the reality of it, and use that same moment to convince a man who's just like her, someone who just really wants to correct the past. But neither of them can. They only have each other right now. Although hilariously enough, Howard actually didn't want Jarvis to shoot him, which is what he thought he would have wanted. Anyways, as Agent Carter comes back to the office, she gets a round of applause. Although unfortunately, Thompson gets all the thanks by Senator. Daniel is mad that Peggy didn't get any of the credit, but she's alright. She knows her value, and that's all that matters now. She's not incomplete or afraid to live anymore. So as Jarvis and Peggy respectively says farewell, he hands over Steve's blood, and on the Brooklyn Bridge, Peggy pours it away to say goodbye, to move on, which is sweet, but also kind of weird on two fronts. A, the MCU could have had immortality and various cures to diseases, including the common cold, but nope, that's just very strange. But it's also kind of weird, because now, years later, Steve will eventually come back. Therefore, the full effect of this arc is in a very strange place. But at the same time, there's great value in knowing Peggy didn't forget to live while her love didn't come back. The world didn't stop turning when she lost her man. Instead, she was the one who pushed it to spin again, and in turn, the momentum turned her. But I'm not sure about you, but that only makes their final kiss all the more sweet. Because this isn't just about a dude going back to his girl, but a woman rewarded for her perseverance. But wait, what about season 2? To be continued. So that was the Agent Carter video, a video that I just sort of made out of the blue because I literally watched the show and thought it was fucking awesome. That's it. I was gonna release my Eternals video today, but I didn't finish it on time. So thank you, Agent Carter. Thank you for not only being a good show, but giving me something to work on while I work on something else. Anyways, especially thanks to everyone on Patreon, and I'll be back with some more stuff. I want 3 videos a week from now to the end of time, unless I die of an unrelated brain aneurysm.
Could I borrow the sports section?